What's going on today, guys? Today might be a short podcast. I really just want to talk about the NBA playoffs. I've had so much fun watching these NBA playoffs. We've had some upsets, we've had some crazy games, we've had some series not go the way we expect them to go. So let's just hop right into it. When the podcast ended last week, we were through game 2 on most of the series. So I kind of just want to go over a couple of the game 3 and ons. Some of the series have already ended. Some of the series are still going on and pretty damn close. So let's start with getting over the easy ones. The Thunder and the Cavs both end their series 4-0. I expected the Thunder series to go exactly the way it went. I mean, that game, there was a game that Ja got hurt in game 3 where it looked like they had shown some life. The Grizzlies had been outscoring them all game. They were up like 29 at one point. Then Ja gets hurt. And the Thunder come back from a 29-point deficit. Felt like the entire second half was just the Thunder absolutely rolling over the Grizzlies. I mean, the Grizzlies just could not stand a chance after Ja got hurt. And if Ja would have stayed in, who knows how that game would have ended. The Thunder may have still could have won. I feel bad that Ja got hurt. But the Thunder rolled over them, and then in game 4, rolled over them again. So the Grizzlies are now out of the playoffs. And they showed just a little sign of life in that game, and it made me think it could happen, but I don't think anybody in the West this year is going to beat the Thunder. And then the Cavs series. This is one of those series where a part of me felt like the Heat could make it close every game. And yeah, I guess game 3 they kept it within 9. And then game 4, the Cavs just rolled over them and beat them by almost 60. One of the worst games I've ever personally watched as a playoff game. But that is to be expected when you have the best teams in the NBA playing the worst team to make it into the playoffs. Especially, in the either West or East Conference. And then we had the Magic series. So the Magic ended up winning a game against the Celtics. But I think everybody who watches basketball kind of expected that. For whatever reason, the Magic always played the Celtics really well. And I talked about this last week that they hadn't beat them yet, but I expected the Magic to at least get one game. And yes, we had Jason Tatum hurt. Jaylen Brown is a little banged up. Drew Holiday's out with a hamstring injury. And then we have Kristaps, who isn't completely healthy. And so we expected the Magic to have all of their players that came into the playoffs with them. They always play the Celtics really well. The Celtics were a little banged up. And then the Magic took game 3 from them by 2 points, which was a pretty good game. And then Jason Tatum comes back, I think a little bit quicker than expected. I don't know if the Celtics organization was a little worried to keep him out or they wanted to bring him back to make sure that they could, clutch up a 4-1 series win and get out of it pretty unscathed in the aspect that, they were already hurt. Jason Tatum gets hurt, but to come out of it with less miles on their bodies. So they come out of it 4-1 and bring Jason Tatum back a little early. They rolled over the Magic. The Magic would be a really good team if they just had better outside shooting because their defense is incredible. I mean, one of these games, they kept the Celtics from shooting and scoring a 3 in the first half. The Magic kept the Celtics from scoring a 3-point shot in the first half of one of these games, which shows how incredible their defense actually is. Kind of like the Rockets defense, where you watch them and you go, man, if they just had better offense, they would be a really hard team to stop. But the Magic just don't have outside shooting potential. Their role players aren't the most efficient 3-point shooters. And so you're just relying on Franz and Paolo to score, mid-range and in the paint shots. And you can't rely on that all game. And even if you do, teams like the Celtics who can shoot from outside can just outscore your twos with threes. But those were the series that just weren't all that incredible to watch. They had their moments, they had their moments where you just look at these one seeds and you go, nobody's at least upset them. And, the Magic took one game, which is cool. But let's get into the series that have been surprising to some, maybe surprising to most. I don't know. Let's start with this Warriors Rockets series. So after game 2, the Warriors had lost to the Rockets. That tied the series 1-1. So then you go to game 3 in this series. And the Warriors had one of those Steph Curry games where you go, yeah, he's still that guy. He's getting up there in age. He's in his late 30s. And there's moments where you go, I don't think the Warriors teams are the Warriors of the past. But Steph is Steph. Steph is so damn good. And we're going to be so sad when he retires. Because he just has these magical moments where you watch him and you go, he is unstoppable. Because the Rockets play incredible defense. So they're limiting the amount of threes he can take. They're limiting the open threes he can take. And Steph is the best off the ball movement guy I've ever watched. And maybe that's just the Warriors scheme. That could be a lot of Warriors, but you watch him even off the ball. They're tugging, they're pulling, they're grabbing him, they're keeping him. He's running around all game. So as a defender, not only do you have to perform on offense, but when you're guarding Steph Curry, you're getting a lot of, off the ball screens. You're having to run around guys. You're having to chase him all night long. And even if you get in his face and are able to put a hand up, guess what? There's still a high chance that he is going to make that shot. Because Steph Curry is one of the greatest shooters of all time, contested and open. And so in game 3, he had one of those games where he just took over. He just took over, and he was that guy that night. Especially with Jimmy Butler kind of being banged up. And then in game 4, the Warriors come back with another win. This is that Buddy Hield 15-point game. Jimmy Butler comes back, has 27 points. Steph Curry only had 17 this game, but this felt like a Robin game with some role player game. Buddy Hield having 15 and Brandon Podziemski had 26. And so they ended up winning in game 3 to take the series to 3-1. And then tonight, I'm recording this in between the Rockets-Warriors game and the Lakers-Timberwolves game on Wednesday night. And then in game 3, the Rockets come out hot. I mean, Amen Thompson had 25 points. Dylan Brooks had 24 points. Fred VanVleet had 26 points. It was just one of those games where the Rockets had it all. I mean, this might be an age game where the Warriors are a little up there in age as a team. They're putting a lot of miles on their bodies, having to fly back and forth from Houston to, the Bay. And the best person to perform on the Warriors tonight was Moses Moody. The Rockets just kind of took it away from the first quarter when they outscored the Warriors 40-24. Then they outscored them again by 11 in the second quarter. And so they're already down, 27 points going into half. So this game was kind of over after halftime. The Warriors and the Rockets tied 31-31 in the third quarter. So they were still up 26 going into the fourth quarter. The Warriors just kind of probably play a little bit throwaway ball at the end of the game. Let some starters that don't get minutes in the playoffs play, like Trace Jackson, Davis, Pat Spencer, those guys. Gary Payton had 8 points. This is just, to me, I'm not too worried about this series still. The Warriors are still up 3-2. We're going into a game six. This felt to me like a lot of miles on their bodies. Game every other night. They're getting a little tired. They need a little rest. They just came out flat. But I do expect the Warriors to still win this series. But I do believe that the Houston Rockets are pretty incredible. I don't think they have the offensive potential that they will in years coming. Maybe that's from, developing guys or picking up guys in free agency. Jalen Green, some nights seems to be that guy, and then other nights like tonight where the Rockets blow out the Warriors in a playoff game, he only has 11 points. So I'm not entirely sure who their number one guy on offense is. And I don't know if they know that either, but their defense is so, so good. And it's taken the Warriors to have some special games for them to win a couple of these games in these playoffs. And they're pretty tough too. I mean, they're grabbing, they're pulling, they're banging, bodies in the post to get rebounds. They're diving for balls that are going out of bounds. Like, they play hard, they play tough, and they play incredible defense. And if they get a guy or a couple guys who can have special moments and carry the team offensively, I think this Houston team could actually make damage in the playoffs, do damage in the playoffs. But that's my take on the Warriors Rockets series. I mean, I am so impressed with Amen Thompson. I mean, he had a really good game tonight. But even the games where he has, 10 points, 8 rebounds, a couple assists, he's playing a lot, 30 plus minutes of incredibly hard defense on the hardest team to probably play defense against when you have just guys sprinting across the court all game. The Warriors aren't the Knicks, where the Knicks a lot of the times is just Jalen Brunson pounding air out of the ball while guys sit around the 3-point line and watch him play iso ball. The Warriors are off the ball screens all game, and it's just constantly moving, moving, moving until you find open space and can take open shots. And so for Amen Thompson to be able to play as hard as he is all game against a team that is really hard to play defense against, I'm really impressed with Amen Thompson this series. And Fred VanVleet, when they picked him up and they were awful last year, it made me question whether he questioned his change to the Rockets. And I think slowly with Ime, he saw the development of like, oh, this team, this is why I understand why I went here, got paid here, and why they wanted me here so bad. Because he's just a really good locker room guy, and he's probably a really good vet leader for these guys too. He plays incredibly well. I wouldn't say he's their number one option, but now I understand this Fred VanVleet pickup. Let's move on to the Clippers and Warriors series. So game one, Denver takes it in an incredible OT game, 112 to 110. We talked about that last week. Talked about it last week where the Clippers come back and Kawhi just looked unstoppable. I mean, unstoppable. And then immediately after I say that, the Clippers come back and Kawhi looks unstoppable again in game three. And they beat him by like 20, 34? They beat him by 34, 117 to 83. And so at this point, the Clippers are up 2-1 in the series. And I started getting real worried for the Nuggets. Because their role players weren't looking good. Jamal Murray hasn't looked real good these playoffs. Michael Porter Jr.'s had a game or two where he's looked okay, and then the rest of the games he's looked non-existent. And Kawhi has just looked like that guy this series. So I expected the Clippers to come back in game 4 and go up 3-1. Then the Nuggets in game 4. This is one of those Jokic is the best damn player in the world moments. He keeps it close all game. They fight back. And as a game-winning shot, Jokic takes kind of like this fadeaway over the head three and completely airballs it. And then Aaron Gordon, before the time runs out, ends up catching the ball over the rim and dunking it right as time goes out as a game-winning shot. Which is I mean, it was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. And that slow-mo where they say this is going to be the best air ball of all time, where Jokic is doing his fadeaway back up over the head shot, and then you see the ball slowly go over the rim, and Aaron Gordon catches it right as like the LED is lighting up on the backboard, and as they counted it as, a game-winning shot. They reviewed it, everything, and it still counted. And so the Clippers ended up losing to the Nuggets. In this one at the buzzer with a buzzer beater shot. And you look at this stat line. Aaron Gordon had 14. That's okay. Michael Porter Jr. had 17, which is kind of what you want and expect from Michael Porter Jr. when you're paying that much money to him. Both those guys played 42 and 43 minutes combined. Christian Braun had 17 points. He's looked really good this season. Like, really improved from when he started on the Nuggets when he got drafted. Jamal Murray only had 13. That's not what you want from your point guard, especially when you were used to having these playoff moments from Jamal Murray where it's game after game. He looks incredible. I mean, there's been series where I've questioned if he was maybe better than Jokic at times. So you have 13 from Jamal, 17 from Christian, 17 from Michael, and 14 from Aaron Gordon. And Jokic's stat line is he had 8 assists in this game, 36 points, and 21 rebounds. Jokic is absolutely, Jokic is the best player in the world game. And why there's an argument for him to be MVP. Because without him, I don't even know if the Nuggets are a playoff team. But with him, you get games and moments like this where he was just unstoppable that night. I mean, Kawhi had 24 in this game. Norman Powell had 22, which is really good for Norman Powell. Zubac had 19, and James Harden had 15 on 11 assists. And so in this game, the Nuggets go up and tie the series 2-2. And then I became less worried. And I go, this series is actually what I believed, which is a lot closer than expected. Because you have Kawhi Leonard, who has played pretty well all year. James Harden's played pretty well all year. But there's moments where these guys fall short in the playoffs. That's the only reason I thought this series was a little bit closer than expected. And when you're playing the best player in the world, you're going to have games where he just goes off. And unless your entire team performs, because he's doing the performance of 3 guys. He's doing the performance of his center, of the number 1 scorer, and of, an inside guy getting rebounds. So your entire team has to outperform his incredibly high 3 stats. And then they go to game 5 in Denver. And the Nuggets just blew out the Clippers. I mean, it was not close. Kawhi didn't look all that great. He only had 20 points. Zubac had the most points on the team at 27. James Harden had 11 points. This is a James Harden is non-existent game that he usually has in the playoffs. I mean, remember that Sixers series where he went off for like 40, then the next game he did absolutely nothing and they got blown out? And it doesn't help that Kawhi did, he played 37 minutes, which is a lot of minutes for Kawhi. Because he's played every single game in the series. He had 9 rebounds, 11 assists, which is really good. And then he only had 20 points. But as the number 1 scorer, you need more than that. But this is where Jamal Murray finally makes his mark. Jamal Murray had 43 points in this game. I mean, he was making everything. He played 40 minutes. He only had 7 assists. He had 5 rebounds. Jokic only had a single triple or whatever they call it. He had a triple double, but it was all like pretty much around 10. He didn't really need to be he didn't really he wasn't really needed as a scorer in this game. He had 13 points. He did have 12 assists and 10 rebounds, but Aaron Gordon had 23 points. He's looked really good this entire series. I'm really happy with Aaron Gordon's performance. Michael Porter Jr. only had 14 points. I mean, the role players played pretty well. I mean, Russell Westbrook got a 21 piece in this game on 25 minutes. He looked pretty good. And he didn't do his normal stat padding because he only has one rebound and one assist. But Jamal Murray, I mean, man, he was just pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, take shots and make. It felt like he was not missing. He had a heat check all game, and that light never went out. And these are the moments that we expect from Jamal. I mean, the bubble, Jamal Murray looked incredible. Then the series where they go to the championship and win it, he had those moments where he just looked great against the Lakers. He looked great against the Heat in the finals. Jamal Murray has his moments where he's unstoppable. But then all this year, he's just looked honestly bad for Jamal Murray. The first 3 months, he looked awful. Then going into the rest of the year, he had on and off games, didn't really look like himself. Then we get into the playoffs, and in the first couple, games of this series, he still looked non-existent. So, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's injury. I don't know if it's I could not tell you what it is and why he's been the way he's been. I really don't understand it. Maybe it has a lot to do with all the turmoil of the Nuggets organization. Maybe it's a scheme thing. I'm not sure because Jokic has had to carry this team all damn year. And finally Jamal Murray comes up in probably the biggest moment because the series was tied 2-2 and he takes the Nuggets over the edge and in a game, to win, and Denver now leads the series 3-2. These are the moments. This is why I was so keen on this series being closer than it is, because the core is still here. It's still Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, Christian Braun has been on, the last couple of years of the team, and Jamal Murray. And so you look at this team and you go, the core is still here. Regardless of who is coaching, how they performed in the regular season, it doesn't matter what it is. The core is still here. And these guys have had their moments. And they've been the best player on some teams. They've been amazing and phenomenal in series for the Nuggets. And so as long as these guys turn it up and perform at the level they've performed before, they still have what it takes. It's still the core team. And I don't know how reliant basketball is on coaching. For whatever reason in the NFL, it is so heavily reliant on you having an incredible coaching staff. Because they can't just go out there and play by themselves. In basketball, is it necessary? Absolutely. And every great team has a great coach. I'm not disputing that. But what I'm saying is the fact that Michael Malone gets fired right before the playoffs. I mean, right before the playoffs. Less than 10 games away from the playoffs, Michael Malone gets fired. But it's still the same core team. And now you see it because they have an interim head coach right now. And these guys are up on the Clippers, who have been one of the better teams in the NBA this year. 3-2 in a series with an interim head coach. So it makes me question how important having the best coach in the league is compared to just having a good coach but an incredible team. And I don't know how many of these guys are going to be here next year. But when you have Jokic performing night in, night out, you never question his performance. He's never fallen off. He's never had like 3-month stretch where he's just looked awful. He's always looked like the best player on the court at all times he's on the court. But his surrounding cast, I mean, Aaron Gordon's looked really pretty good this year. Aaron Gordon's looked really good this year, actually. Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray have been non-existent. But if those guys can find it, like Jamal Murray finds it in games like this, they have a chance to maybe upset a little bit in the playoffs. I don't think that they're better than the Thunder, but do I think if these four guys turn it up and perform at the level they performed in past years, that they could maybe take 2 games from the Thunder? I think it could happen. That's been this Nuggets, Clippers series. And there has been the argument that this game was in Denver. You're putting a lot of miles when you're traveling, from LA to Denver on older guys like Kawhi Leonard, you know, stuff like that. There's been arguments that with the miles being put on their body, Kawhi's playing a ton of minutes, and now you play a game in Denver where the elevation is incredibly high. And so it is impossible to breathe when you're running around in Denver, Colorado. Because when you're coming from LA, where the elevation is like almost zero, and then you're going to the mile high city, you're probably going to have games where you perform not too well when your body's already tired, when you're not getting a ton of rest, and now you're having to play the Denver Nuggets, who are used to it, in their city at mile high elevation. There is the argument that maybe this game had some to do with that and some to do with just the Nuggets just outperforming the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers still scored 115 points in this game. The Denver Nuggets just scored 131. That's going to be a really hard team. That's going to be a really hard team to beat for any team. Doesn't matter who it is. 131 points is a ton when you're playing a really good defense and you have guys going off in Jamal Murray. And Russell Westbrook's looked really good this series. And it could just be because he used to be on the Clippers, and so there's some animosity, and so it makes him perform a little bit better. He's got that dog in him right now. But after game, 2, after game 3, I kind of expected the Clippers to take this one, like a little nudge to them. I just thought the series was a little bit closer. And now I'm starting to question if the Clippers can even come back. I mean, when you're up 2-3 to the Nuggets, or, when you're down 2-3 to the Nuggets, that's a really hard team to beat twice in a row when you have Jamal Murray playing like he's playing, Jokic just playing like he always plays, and Aaron Gordon getting, that 20-point range, and Russell Westbrook coming off the bench and giving them like good minutes, like really good 25 good minutes out of Russell Westbrook. I'm not sure that the Clippers can come back. Do I think that they can go back to LA and tie this series and go to a game 7? I think it's definitely possible. And then that'll be a fun game, man. A game 7 with the Clippers Nuggets. Because for whatever reason, I think Jamal Murray just shows up in moments like that. Jokic, you never have to question if he's going to perform. He always will. Now let's go to this Lakers Timberwolves series. They are currently playing right now game 5. It is halftime. But we talked about it. Game 1, Timberwolves come out, blow out the Lakers. Game 2, the Lakers come out and look incredibly well against the Timberwolves, tie the series 1-1. So now we go back to Minnesota for game 3, and the Lakers just fell flat again. They just fell flat. They didn't look all that well. I mean, I know this was the Luka's sick game, so Luka didn't play incredibly well this game. LeBron didn't, look. LeBron still did all right in this game, but when you're the only person out there, and all right for LeBron is 38 points. He did have 10 rebounds, but it was only LeBron. I mean, Austin Reeves had 20, but when you don't have Luka playing at top tier Luka level, I mean, Luka played 40 points being sick. He only had 17 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. LeBron had 38 points. And this game, I mean, just didn't feel all that great. I mean, they were down 6 or they were up 4 at halftime. Then the Timberwolves just come out in the second half and just look incredibly well. Outscore them by 6 in the third, outscore them by 10 in the fourth. So Austin Reeves had 20, Luka had 17, LeBron had 38. LeBron's still doing it at almost he's doing it at 40 years old. To play 41 minutes at 40 years old, I don't know how many more games LeBron can do that. And I say that knowing that probably would have said this 5 years ago, and he's done it every single year. But then you had nobody else doing anything. Rui had 8 points. You only have Finney Smith. Gabe Vincent had 5 points. Finney Smith had 8. This just wasn't a great game from the Lakers, and this is the problem with the Lakers is you have 5 guys, honestly, maybe just 4 guys, and nothing else. Like, nothing else. They don't have any other team. Bronny James did get a minute, but they don't have anybody on the bench. And Julius Randle comes out, has 22 points. Jaden McDaniel came out in this game, had 30 points. Anthony Edwards had 29 points. And if you look at their roster, they have 8 guys. 8 guys playing minutes. 8 guys playing more than 15 minutes. So they're allowed and able to give their starters rest in this series without worry that they're going to be blown out when their bench players come in, because they have 8 guys who can perform and who can give you good minutes and continue to score the ball and play defense, right? I mean, the lowest number minute guys on this team that are actually playing minutes in this game are Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. If those are your 3 guys with the least minutes in a playoff game, your team's probably doing pretty well. I mean, if Rudy Gobert only has to play 25 minutes a game, that means whoever's playing in front of him is performing better. So you had Jaden McDaniels scoring 30, getting 5 boards. You had Julius Randle playing 41 minutes on 22 points. You had Anthony Edwards playing 42 minutes, getting 29 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. And this is coming off that 0 assist game, right? So this is the problem with the Lakers. It's they have probably the best 2 guys at the top in this series. But when you look at 3 through 8 or 3 through 8, let's say 3 through 8, the Timberwolves have the much better team. I mean, when Anthony Edwards is the 3rd best player in this series, hypothetically, then 4 through 8 is all Timberwolves, right? So then the Lakers lose that game with LeBron scoring 38. Then they go back to Minnesota, and you kind of were expecting the Lakers to kind of flip-flop this series, right? Where they have one good game, one bad game, and the series just bounces back from 1-0 to 1-1 to 2-1 and on and on and on. But then the Timberwolves come out, and this is that Anthony Edwards is that guy series. This is that guy game. Because the Lakers came out and they looked good. They go up 4 in the first quarter. They go down 7 in the second quarter. So at halftime, the game is within 3. Then the Lakers come out in the third quarter and outscore the Timberwolves by 13. So they're up 10 going into the fourth quarter. LeBron's having a good game. He had 27. Luka had 38 points. He only had 1 rebound and 2 assists, but in 46 minutes, he had 38 points. Rui had 23 points. Austin Reeves had 17. You kind of want him to do a little bit better than that, but it's one of those games where it's a LeBron, Luka. So the Lakers are going into the fourth quarter up 10 points. And you just see it every time they show Ant. He's just picking at LeBron all game, going at him on defense, pushing him, shoving him. Going into the fourth quarter, he just turned it up a notch. And he was the best player on the court that night. With Luka scoring 38, he was the best player that night because he carried not only the Minnesota Timberwolves offense to outscore the Lakers defense in the fourth quarter by 14 points, 13 points, but he also played incredible defense. I mean, incredible defense. He's yelling at everybody. He's talking his shit. He's talking shit to the refs. Like, he's giving it to everybody. And he's just got it in him. He's performing at the highest level. He is so damn competitive. And it's mixed with how incredible he is, talent-wise. So he has 9 rebounds. He has 6 assists. He crawls the Timberwolves back from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. And then it goes to the late LeBron foul where they looked at the review, and because they looked at a review about the ball going off of Anthony Edwards. They go to the review, then they ended up calling a foul on LeBron late into the game. I know people had a lot to say about that because it's like, they weren't even looking for a foul. They were just looking to see who the ball went off of out of bounds. And then they ended up calling a foul late on LeBron by seeing something in the review. But anyway, Anthony Edwards just looked great. And this is that game where people are criticizing the coaching staff of the Lakers for not sitting the starters at all in the second half. All 5 starters played 24 minutes of basketball. 24 minutes of basketball. That can't happen. It shouldn't happen. But it's because JJ Redick knows that they don't have anybody else to play. They don't have any other bench guys that can give them good minutes. Do they have players they can put out there? Yeah. But if they do, they're going to get absolutely rolled. And so JJ Redick had no choice but to play LeBron, Rui, Jackson, Luka, and Austin Reeves for they played LeBron, Rui, Luka, Austin Reeves, and Dorian Finney-Smith 24 minutes from the third quarter and the fourth quarter, which is pretty unheard of. Pretty unheard of. You need to sit guys and rest them. I don't know if any of you guys listening have tried to play a sport on and on and on with no breaks for 24 minutes. 24 minutes, you're going up and down the court. I mean, you're pretty much essentially doing wind sprints for 24 minutes on top of having to guard people like Anthony Edwards, guard people like Julius Randle. Then you have to go the other way. Not only are you running, jumping, guarding, but now you have to go play offense, move the ball around, do some screens, run around the court over there. Like, it is incredibly hard to play a sport straight for 24 minutes. And it sucks because you're watching this game and you go, yeah, the Lakers still have a little bit of juice. Then the Timberwolves just came back in the fourth quarter, led by Anthony Edwards, and just steamrolled the Lakers in the fourth quarter and ended up winning by 3 points on the back of Anthony Edwards being and playing like the best player in this series. And now they're playing currently. But after the Timberwolves came back and won game 4 in this series to go up 3-1, I don't think the Lakers can do it. I don't. I think that ended their series. They needed that win to stay in it. Now, did I think that the Lakers could go on a run in these playoffs? I mean, there's always the chance with Luka when you have Luka and LeBron on the same team, like it's an all-star game. But I did think this Timberwolves series was going to be tough because Anthony Edwards is good. I expected the Lakers to win. I didn't expect them to do any damage in the playoffs, especially when knowing that the Thunder are just the best team in the West. I don't think anybody's going to do anything against them. If anything, it was going to be the Clippers. Whoever wins the Clippers Nuggets series would be able to do the most damage. But currently, right now in game four, as expected, the Timberwolves are up 10 at halftime. They're up 10, 59-49. We can look at the stat line real quick. I mean, Rudy's got the most points on the Timberwolves right now with 15 points, 8 rebounds. The Lakers, Luka's got 12, LeBron's got 10, Rudy's got 10. Reeves has got 9. Now, I will say this, and I know he is a role player, and I know he's probably not getting the ball a lot in his hands when you have two guys as prolific as Luka and LeBron. I expected Austin to be a bigger part of the offense. I don't know why. I just expected him to have those, wow, he can score 29 points in a games in this series. And he's just kind of looked like a really good role player. Maybe that's all he is. I just thought maybe he had a little bit more to him. Because we've seen it before in series where he's had 25 points, 30 points, whatever it is. But Austin this series has just kind of looked like a really good role player. Austin Reeves is playing exactly how I expected Julius Randle to play in this series. It's like flip-flopped. Like Julius Randle is outperforming what I expected of him in this series to be like a Batman and Robin, where he's the Robin and he's performing extremely well. And I expected Austin Reeves to kind of be that guy and to maybe make up for and give LeBron a little rest to be able to perform on offense and have Austin do that on offense. But he's just had like 17, 15, 14, maybe 20 points every once in a while. I just kind of expected him to have a little bit more than that. And maybe that's just me. But I am a huge fan of Austin Reeves, and I do think he's a damn good role player. But they did pay him a lot of money. And so I was expecting a little more, especially when you've seen it before. But I'm sure it is really hard when you have both Luka and LeBron needing and having to touch the ball for like entire offensive stretches. So I'm sure it's just a go sit over there. If we need you, we need you. If we pass it to you, hit the open shot. So unless you're shooting like incredibly efficiently, you're probably only going to have 15, 17 points a game. Now let's go on to the next series. Just as of right now, I mean, the Timberwolves are up 60-53 in quarter number 3, so they're up 7. I just still see the Timberwolves ending it tonight. I lost hope with the Lakers in this last game where they lost by, 3 points, then go out and get, blown out. But let's move on to this Pacers Bucks series. This has been a really fun series to watch. Now, I did talk about it last week. I just thought the Pacers were the better team, especially if Dame, when we talked about it last week, it kind of seemed like Dame was kind of going to be out the rest of the series. So I wasn't expecting to have him back, but Pacers blow him out in game 1. Pacers win by 8 in game 2. And that's where we ended, and I just expected the Pacers to win 4-0 in the series. Then Dame has his Dame comeback game. And the Bucks take game 3. They take game 3. So Dame comes back in game 3. The Bucks win by 16 in game 3. And Giannis is going to have 30 points every game. We don't need to talk about Giannis' stat line because it's looked the same for like the last 8 years. It's like 38 and 8, 30, 10 and 10 at times. So the Bucks win. That takes the series to 2-1. Then, in the most devastating fashion, after going out with a blood clot issue, Dame comes back, plays in game 3, they win. Comes back in game 4, tears his ACL. I mean, just absolutely dreadful. He tears his ACL. And I felt so bad for Dame. And it makes me question what Giannis' future looks like. But let's just get back into the series real quick before we talk about it. Tears his ACL. and then the Pacers just absolutely blow out the Bucks. By 26 points in this game. And what sucks the most is like that's an injury where he's not going to be ready by the time the next season comes. If he's lucky, he'll get back on a court in a year. In 1 year, he'll be back. So like if he's lucky, he'll come back if the Bucks were to make the playoffs next year. And that's the fastest, luckiest timeline of him being able to come back and perform at starter minute level playtime. Then they go to this series in Indianapolis where all game it was back and forth, in game number 5. So we get to the fourth quarter, and Gary Trent has one of those role player moments where he missed like his first, I don't know, what was it, 8 3-pointers, and then made like every 3-pointer from the fourth quarter on. This series goes all the way down. The Pacers had to climb back into this game. They go into the fourth quarter down. And on the back of Tyrese Halliburton has these clutch moments at the end of the fourth quarter to take it to overtime. Then we go into the into overtime, and Gary Trent hits 4 for 4 on 3-pointer shots. He had 12 of the 15 Milwaukee Bucks points in the fourth quarter, and it looked like the Bucks were going to win in OT. They were up 7 with 37 seconds left. Up 7 with 37 seconds left. Then Tyrese Halliburton comes down, bangs a 3 to make it within 4. They throw the inbound ball. The Bucks get trapped. They turn the ball over. They come down. Tyrese Halliburton has the ball, drives it to the lane, takes a shot, gets fouled, makes the shot, and makes the free throw to make them within down 1. And in role player fashion, they inbound the ball with like 11 seconds left or whatever. The kid gets trapped. I think it was AJ Green gets trapped with the ball on court. He throws it to Gary Trent Jr., who has had 33 points in this game on 4 for 4 3-point shooting in overtime. AJ Green throws it to an open Gary Trent, and in, unfortunately, role player fashion, Gary Trent fashion, he misses the ball completely. And it goes like under his legs. So AJ Green throws the ball to him as he's open. It bounces. Gary Trent lets it slide through his hands, and it goes between his legs out of bounds. So with 10 seconds left, the Pacers now get the ball back, down 1. And in the fourth quarter, Tyrese Halliburton did it. He had these clutch shots at the very end of the quarter. And in this overtime, he's had a big 3, a big take it to the bucket and 1. So with 10 seconds left, Giannis ends up deciding to guard Tyrese Halliburton. And I've heard people say this before, but sometimes it feels like Tyrese Halliburton forgets that he can take it to the rack, and he has the talent to like make any shot and drive it to the lane and make it. But in Tyrese Halliburton is getting guarded by Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is incredible at defense. He's at like the top of the 3. Gives him a little like hezzy. Gives him like a little hezzy into a crossover and crosses Giannis the fuck up. I mean, just crossed him up. Drives it to the lane and makes the game-tying layup. Not game-tying, but game-winning layup with like 2 seconds left on the clock. Or like 1.7 seconds left on the clock to put the Pacers up by 1. Tyrese Halliburton like ended the Bucks series right there by crossing over Giannis, the Gary Trent letting it slide through his fingers and go out of bounds. They inbound the ball. I mean, he tries to throw it down court and shoot like a 3-court shot. Completely misses the rim, so the Pacers end up winning this series. But it's like, it was watching this game into the fourth quarter in OT, I'm like, if Gary Trent Jr. is going to shoot that fucking well, no team is going to beat him when you have Giannis scoring 30 points. And I always thought the Pacers were the better team in this series, but it looked like one of those games where the Bucks just found it within their will to end up winning. But then for whatever reason, they just kept letting it slide back in the favor of the Pacers. I mean, it was incredible to watch. Just Tyrese Halliburton had like two game tying shots in the fourth quarter, had to crawl back with, within 7 with 37 seconds left on the clock, ended up winning the game by shooting a three, an and one, and a layup. Like, it was one of the most incredible endings to a basketball game I've seen. I felt really bad for the Milwaukee Bucks because it felt like they just showed a little sign of life. Like, maybe they could win this. Maybe they could win another game in this series. Probably not, because the Pacers have the better 1 through 7. But it just kind of was nice knowing that they came back from the last game. It was nice to watch because Dame gets hurt in the last game, tears his ACL. Feels like the Bucks series ended. Maybe the last time we'll ever see Giannis in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. And then they have one of these incredible games where it felt like they could win. And then the Pacers do what the Pacers do, make it fun to watch, and then end up winning the game on a Tyrese Halliburton shooting 8 points in like 30 seconds. But let's talk about it. Is this the last time we ever see Giannis in a Bucks uniform? They just don't have much. They really don't. I mean, outside of Giannis, they don't really have much. Because they have Dame Lillard, but now he's hurt, right? And it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked yet. Now he's hurt. He's gonna be gone for a year. They don't own like any of their picks. They traded all their picks away to get Dame. So they can't draft well. And they can't just tank to draft. So unfortunately, they're left in a position where this is gonna have to be a full rebuild. Because if Giannis wants out, they don't have any of their draft picks because they've given a bunch of swaps to teams, so they can't tank. So it doesn't benefit them to be bad. And they don't have the team to be able to do well. And I have a feeling that this is going to be Giannis's last year as a Buck. And a lot of people have touted them to go to the Spurs, which would be really fun to watch him and Wemby play. But I do think this is the last time we see Giannis in a Bucks uniform. I have no idea where he's going to go. But I just know that what it means for this team unless they get an effing haul back for Giannis. Because not only do they need players, but they don't have any picks. And so, are they going to go in the route? I mean, I don't think any team's going to give them 3 1s, right? So they're going to need a 1 and maybe a couple good players. And maybe even then, it's probably still not worth it to tank. Because whatever team you're sending Giannis to, you kind of expect them to at least be good enough to not be in the number 1 spot. But I just don't know. I mean, this team has nothing future-wise. And I think Giannis is kind of, ready to go because he sees the writing on the wall. And I think he saw it around the time that Dame came back, or that Dame came to the Bucks, that it kind of felt like a damn, we need something to keep him here moment because they gave up a lot to get Dame. But I think Giannis won't be here, and that leaves the Milwaukee Bucks in a real bad situation if he leaves. And a lot of people have brought up the question, like, if Giannis didn't get that ring against the Suns, this conversation would be a lot different. It would be. Because he is so incredible to watch. And he carried that Bucks team to a championship. I just hope Giannis, if he does go somewhere, he goes somewhere we can still watch him play in the playoffs. Because Giannis is really fun to watch. And he's one of the most incredible NBA players of all time. And now the Pacers move on in a 4-1 Bucks series win. I don't think I would have expected that last year. And I do feel incredibly bad for Dame. I mean, to come back from a blood clot issue where they thought that maybe he could never play again because of that, to come back early, play a game, a full starter minute game. The next game tears Achilles. He's going to be out for a year. I mean, we saw with Aaron Rodgers. Even when Aaron Rodgers came back from that injury, he just didn't look the same. But that's been this playoff series so far. I mean, it's been just so much fun to watch. And now the second round is set. At least one of the series is set in the East. So we had the Cavs Pacers. I might call it now. That I think the Pacers have a good shot at making that thing close. I like the Pacers this year. I do. Oh, I'm dumb. We still have one more series to talk about. Probably the most interesting series to me. This Pistons Knicks series. Sorry about that, guys. This Pistons Knicks series, guys. So we talked about game one and game two. Knicks beat the Pistons. Pistons come back and beat the Knicks. Then Knicks, in a thriller, off actually two thrillers. I mean, come back in this game and beat the Pistons by 2 points in game number three. With Karl-Anthony Towns scoring 31, Jalen Brunson scoring 30, Mikal Bridges scoring 20 points. And Cade Cunningham had 24 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. in this game had 24 points. But the Pistons almost crawled back to be able to win this game. Luckily, the Knicks held on and kept them within two. Then in game number three, this is that Cat hits a couple big shots at the end of the game moment. In game number three, the Knicks win by 1 point. They are down by 7 points going into the fourth quarter. And all game, the Pistons just, I think every single game this series, the Pistons have led going into the fourth quarter. So, I don't know what's happening. And I don't know if that just shows that the Knicks are just clutch and Big Body Brunson's just clutch. But this is that game where Cat, we've seen all the highlights where he goes baseline, shoots that crazy fadeaway, almost out of bounds jumper to hit a shot. Mikal Bridges had a shot. Then Karl-Anthony Towns comes back down the court with 30 seconds left and hits this crazy distance, crossover deep three, drains it to get the Knicks to go up by one going into the fourth, to keep the Knicks up one in the fourth quarter. Because they had to crawl back going into the fourth quarter. So the Knicks drain that shot. They keep the Pistons from scoring down, going back with the ball after Cat makes that big three. And the Knicks end up winning this game when they probably shouldn't have. For whatever reason, the first three quarters of every game, the Pistons have looked like the better overall team. I mean, Cade Cunningham has been incredible. He's calm, he's collected, he makes big shots, he dishes the ball, he's a great point guard. He's really damn good at playing basketball. And I don't know how many people would have said that after getting drafted first and then having that, what do they have, 14 wins last season or whatever? But the Pistons have looked like pretty much the better team most of this series. And I don't know what keeps happening in the fourth quarter. I don't know if it's just because it's Jalen Brunson and Jalen Brunson is going to do what Jalen Brunson does or what. But the Pistons they should probably be up, if not tied, maybe up 3-1 in this series. But the Knicks are up after this game 3-1. And then we go into game 5 where you're kind of expecting the Knicks to kind of end it here. And know this, none of us really know how hurt Jalen Brunson is because remember, going into the playoffs, he was kind of hurt, kind of rolled his ankle. Then in this series, he rolls his ankle again, like really badly, to where he has to leave the court, go back, get x rays, then come back into the game. And you play on adrenaline after coming back in the game, you don't feel it, but after 20 minutes, it starts to hurt more than when you originally rolled it. So I don't know how hurt Brunson really is, but going into the playoffs, I really thought that the Knicks were like a really good team, even better team with Cat now. But there's just some faults to the Knicks that everybody clearly sees, right? Like I do think the Pistons might be the better team in the series, at least as of right now. They're playing better as a team. Sar Thompson looks great. Tobias Harris is having a really great series. Malik Beasley's been an incredible shooter this year, all led by Cade Cunningham. Like Cade Cunningham's had like 25, 24 plus points in every game in this series, and they've been up in every fourth quarter. But you watch the Knicks play, and you're like, for most of the game, it's just four guys standing around watching Jalen Brunson play ISO ball. Like they don't do anything else. And the only time that they move the ball is if Jalen Brunson is trapped or in trouble and needs to dish the ball to someone just to get rid of it before he, causes a turnover. Does he make a lot of shots? Yes. But I don't think the Knicks offense is efficient. I don't think they're efficient. The only reason they're efficient is because Jalen Brunson can score at an efficient level. But if Jalen Brunson has off games, I don't see how the Knicks can outperform a Celtics team or even a Piston team at times because the Pistons come back in game number 5 and end up winning the game to go 2-3. But to be honest, the Pistons should probably be up 3-2, if not have already ended this series when they've led going into the fourth quarter every single game of this series. So I'm starting to lose faith in the Knicks, and I'm starting to really gain faith in the Pistons. Because Cade Cunningham is that guy. He's really damn good. He's a really good point guard. He gets his team involved. Jalen Duren's look good. Asar Thompson's look good. They have Dennis Schroeder, who's an incredible defender. Malik Beasley's been lights out shooting efficient this year. So they have some bench guys. Tim Hardaway Jr. has always been good. He was good at the Mavs. He's been good at the Pistons. And then you have these Knicks games where it's like some games OG is inexistent, non-existent. And then there's games where Cat's non-existent and they lose the game. And you expect when they get Mikal Bridges, who performed, who was an incredible basketball player for the Nets. That's why everybody wanted Mikal Bridges. He was so good. He shoots efficient. He's very great at scoring the ball. But unfortunately, you have games where he doesn't really show up. And that could be because you're just watching Jalen Brunson play ISO ball for 48 minutes straight. 48. The only time we don't watch it is when he's not on the court, when he's getting rest. Josh Hart is just an all-time like third, fourth guy. He's getting rebounds. He's playing hard. He's playing like OG hasn't performed this series the way we expected him to. Like in this game, Mitchell Robinson, Jalen, McCall, Cat, Josh Hart, OG, they all had pretty much 15 plus points. All of them. Which is pretty crazy to get that many people involved. And the Pistons still beat them. The Pistons still beat them by 3 in this game. I just don't have as much faith in the Knicks as I did before this series started. And I am pleasantly surprised by how well Cade Cunningham has played in the playoffs. We all saw it in the regular season. We all did. I mean, he played extremely well. He scored at an efficient level. But he's performing when it matters the most. which to me is a little bit more important. We know of plenty of guys who can score 25 a game in the regular season, and then when it comes to playoff times, we have it's like they never existed, you know, where they don't perform when it matters the most. But Cade's doing it against the Knicks team who plays pretty decent defense. But what I'm surprised by is that Cat hasn't looked all that great this series. He's had a couple games where he's looked really good, and then he's had a couple games where he's getting locked up by Tobias Harris. Now, did any of us think Tobias Harris was the best defender in the league? Probably not. Probably not. I just have a feeling that the Pistons are going to push it to a game 7, and then it's going to be an incredible 7th game to watch the Knicks play the Pistons. Luckily, you have like one of the most clutch players ever on the Knicks in Jalen Brunson. So it's probably going to be hard to win a game 7. But I just have no faith that the Knicks can do damage in this playoffs with Jalen being hurt and playing hurt on a 7, at least a 6-game series isn't what you want. You want to give him as much rest as possible, but yet he's having to go in every other night to play 40 minutes on a bum ankle. And so I just don't see it this year with the Knicks. And I think the fans are getting tired of the play. I heard Bill Simmons say, like, there's an awkward energy to when Jalen is just playing iso ball that wasn't like that last year. For whatever reason, there was a lot of electricity in that Knicks building last year, especially with the fan base. Felt like something was buzzing, you know? Like they were really excited. And then coming to this year, and it's like, oh, Jalen's just doing the same thing Jalen's doing because his offense does nothing. And I'm not a huge fan of Tibbs either. Their coach Tibbs. But I honestly think the Pistons are going to win game 7. Or not game 7, but game 6 and push it to a game 7. But I don't think either of these teams can do damage in the playoffs. It's going to be a Celtics. If not, maybe put a little respect on the Cavs. Maybe if the Pacers upset, I don't think it's coming from either of these two teams to do damage. Now, if the Pistons make a couple more moves and Cade keeps progressing on the line he's progressing and getting better every single year, this Pistons team might be pretty good for years to come. But I'm just losing faith in the New York Knicks every single season. They should be better with Cat and Mikal Bridges, and yet they're not. They're not. They need to develop at least a little bit more efficient moving of an offense, and they haven't. That's pretty much it for the NBA playoffs. I mean, a lot of it's been exciting, and I know I talk about it very passionately. I just have a lot of fun talking about these NBA playoffs. And currently, I'm mistaken. The Lakers are up 1. They were down 10 and a half. Now they are up 1, 79-80 in the third quarter with 46 seconds left. Surprising. Let's just hope that they can clutch it out, maybe push to a game 6. Who knows? The last thing I want to talk about today is just this NBA draft. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more next week when I bring my friend Jamie on, because he's a huge Raiders fan and he's been following up on the draft with me. Unfortunately, the only reason I don't have him on the pod today is because it's just getting late. But GNT goes to the Raiders. I'm excited about that. We'll talk about that more next week. But let's talk about this Shedeur Sanders slide. So we're watching the Giants draft at 3. Well, first off, Cam Ward goes 1. Then the Jags trade up to number 2. The Browns get a haul from the Jaguars, like a 2026 first round pick next year or something like that. and a bunch of other picks. The Jags pick Travis Hunter. Then the Giants pick Abdul Carter. Then at number 5, we're kind of expecting the Browns to maybe get a QB, but they get Mason Graham. So at this point, the only quarterback drafted is Cam Ward at number 1. But we all expected that. But remember, all season, everybody has been talking about Shedeur Sanders as a top 3 pick. Then we go down the draft. No QB gets picked in the top 10 other than Cam Ward. We go into the 15s to 20s. And then the Giants trade back up in the first round and we go, uh-oh, this is going to be a QB? This is going to be a QB. And they're showing Shedeur Sanders on the broadcast. They're showing Jackson Dart on the broadcast. And I think a lot of us kind of knew that Dable loves Jackson Dart. So Jackson Dart gets drafted at like number 21 of the Giants or whatever it was. The Steelers don't end up drafting any QB in the first round at, I think it was 19, the Giants drafted Jackson Dart, whatever it was. The Steelers don't draft a QB in the first round. The Browns have a pick in the beginning of the second round. And guess what? They don't draft a QB. They draft somebody else. And so it went from Shedeur Sanders is a top 3 pick to Shedeur Sanders is just a first round QB. Then slowly, day after day, he slides down the draft. And it's not from QBs not being drafted. It's just from him not being drafted. Because I think Jalen Milroe was drafted before him. Tyler Shook, or however you pronounce his last name, Shu, was drafted before him. Dylan Gabriel, I think, was drafted to the Browns before him. Like, it was QB after QB after QB drafted before him. He falls all the way to the 5th round, 144th pick, to the Browns. So the Browns had 5 picks. They drafted 2 QBs, one in the 3rd round and Shedeur in the 5th. So now their QB room, the Browns QB room, is Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and I know I'm missing one, Joe Flacco. Here's the issue I think most people found with Shedeur Sanders, right? Is he incredibly talented? Yes, he is. Is he a first round talent QB? Absolutely. I've seen worse QBs get drafted before that. So, I will not sit here and say he doesn't have the talent to be in the first round. He does. Maybe not a top 3 pick. Maybe not a top 3 pick. But he's definitely first round talent as a QB. But I think what teams find they're having issues with is if he's not number 1 pick overall talent, and there's a chance he might be a backup quarterback, you are going to have to deal with Dion and him both being vocal. So, let's say the Browns, for instance, have picked up Shedeur, and he doesn't end up being the starter, ends up being Deshaun or Kenny Pickett, and he's the 3rd guy in the rotation. The minute that starter has a bad game, who do you think is the first person to be vocal about the situation? Probably Dion. So this is the first draft I've seen that sometimes it's not all about the talent. That sometimes talent will make up for certain issues. And there's only so many teams that can handle and deal with that amount of backlash and vocality from a family and player. And it's the Browns. I mean, Kevin Stefanski he must think that he isn't going anywhere and he must have a lot of confidence in himself, because not only Dion will be vocal, but he's already came out and said, I want to coach my son in the NFL. So like if that team performs badly and there's a chance that Dion could be a coach, right? Or at least make it a daunting task to have to deal with a player's family when he's coming after your job. But I do think Shedeur Sanders is easily talented enough to be drafted in the first round. We've seen worse players drafted in the first round. I just think if he wasn't going to be a starter, how many teams can deal with that pressure and that backlash if the team performance is not well with the starting QB that is not Shedeur Sanders? We will see it in training camp too. If he has an incredible training camp, and he has an incredible preseason, I think there's going to be a lot more buzz and a lot more talk about him playing. But there's also a chance that he comes in, he doesn't perform well, he's maybe the fourth string emergency guy. We don't even get to see him you know, in camp. We don't even get to see him in preseason. I do feel bad that he had to slide and that all anybody talked about on the broadcast is when is he going to get drafted? And I think all of us took a breath the minute he was drafted because we were like, is there a chance he just doesn't get drafted at all? And he was definitely talented, more talented than most of the QBs drafted before him. And he's better talented. He had more talent than a lot of the QBs I've seen drafted in the first round in previous years. So like teams were really worried about the backlash and how vocal Dion is as not only a dad, which he's allowed to be, he's their father, but also as a coach and an NFL legend. So there's a lot of hype and a lot of fan base behind him too. I just hope he performs well, and I hope he comes out with a chip on his shoulder and comes out in camp and plays incredibly high, incredibly well, and we get to see him on the field during the regular season because I like Shedeur Sanders. I thought that Colorado was fun to watch. Could there be some character issues? Who cares, right? I mean, we've seen worse QBs with worse character issues. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson and his massage stuff. Is that really better than Shedeur Sanders throwing up a Rolex? Like, really? I would take Shedeur Sanders throwing up a Rolex than having to deal with my starting QB doing all the shady, shitty shit that he used to do when getting massages, right? So it's like, I just hope the Browns see it that way. And I hope Kevin Stefanski can have the confidence in himself to not be so worried about his family. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I know I said it was going to be a short one. I think it ended up being longer because I talked about every series. I appreciate you guys watching and following along and enjoying the NBA playoffs as much as I am, and for enjoying it while listening to me talk about it. I just have so much fun talking about sports, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. So, thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I will be back next week. This has been Crossing Line with Dev, and I think next week we're going to have a guest on this episode. So, all right, guys, have a good week. Enjoy the playoffs. See you next week. Peace.